Hi, this is my mum, Dana, and my dad, Stuart. They met way back in school, got married in university, and along the way they raised 3 kids. My older brother, Jaira, me, and my youngest brother, Jasper. We grew up in Harvey Bay. When we were kids, my mum organised horse riding lessons for us at Hucknall Horse Rescue. We've always loved horses, but that's when things started to get a little serious, or mental. We fell head over heels for a horse at the rescue called Marbly, so we ended up buying him. He became my mum's horse. Then came Jack, an amazing horse who sadly left us too soon after a tragic paddock injury. Losing him broke my heart. Not long after, Luna came into my life, my beautiful, strong mare. Then Peggy Sue arrived, full of fiery mischief and attitude. But we couldn't stop there. I was passionate about eventing, so we found Romeo, the perfect jumping and cross-country partner. And finally, along came Moses, a neglected rescue horse who, in a surprise twist, adopted my dad and became a part of the family. So there we were, a happy but slightly chaotic herd of 5 horses. My dad was very emphatic that we needed to stop, but then my mum found a for sale ad for 2 yearlings, a colt and a filly. She sent a message to my dad at work and suggested there'd be a great family project to train. True to form, my dad said, "That sounds nice." And here we are today, ready to take our herd from 5 to the magnificent lucky 7. Yes, we may be a bit mental, but it's all part of the adventure. I'm Jazara, and welcome to On the Reins.
We had 5 horses. Now we have 7. Dana, why did we need 2 more?
I don't think we needed 2 more horses. But maybe we wanted 2 more horses.
Why did you want 2 more horses?
Well, Jasper in particular wanted a Western style type of horse, and I guess we were sort of on the lookout for a potential friend for him.
And what's the difference between a Western and a English horse? Is there such a thing?
It's a style.
Style. So the horses aren't different?
No.
Well, there are more Western style bred horses that are bred for more Western style events, but you can train a typically English breed to do Western style events. It just depends on the horse.
So what sort of eventing do you want, or what sort of events do you want to do, Jasper? Like, what has taken your interest?
At first it was barrels, but I mean, now it's not really events. I mean, yeah, I want to do events, but that's not really the main thing for me. It's more just having fun, and that's what I like about Western.
And Jazara, you like English more?
Yeah, that's the style of riding that I've taken to.
Why is that?
I am a sucker for jumping and the adrenaline rush of eventing.
So why do we need 2 horses, Jazara? Or 2 more horses? What is unique about these horses? Tell me about them.
These 2 horses were just a really good opportunity because of the price that they were set at. They were really cheap, and they were, although looking a little bit under-conditioned and a little bit raggedy, they had the foundation of good horses, and they've got nice colouring. So, I knew that if we got them, we could turn them around, make a profit on them. And for me, to get them now suits me because I've just graduated and I don't have to focus on school at the moment. My horse is currently on a break, so I've got a little bit of extra time to be putting in elsewhere. For me, it's just a good time to focus on a project.
Dana, you sent me a screenshot of a Facebook marketplace post of these 2 horses going for sale.
I think I only sent it to you to, I don't know, fill in a bit of time. I wasn't really serious. I had said to Jazz, that'd be a good opportunity to break in and, get experience, and not breaking in, but educating a young horse, because we'd had so much fun doing it with Peggy, and potentially, Jasper could keep his and have it as a riding horse. And Jazara, because she's already got two other horses, would sell hers.
To Trusted Home, 5-star.
2.5 horses, don't you have? I thought you had 2.5.
I do have 2.5.
Is that right? Does she have 2.5? Is Peggy half hers or not? Who's...
She's staying, and Peggy will stay with Mum.
I asked Mum the question. Dana.
Oh yeah, I say that she's mine, but
Yeah.
I don't mind if Jazz calls her half hers. She can call her half hers. She's had a lot of input into her training.
Jasper, what about you? These 2 horses are very pretty. They're very good looking horses. They're a bit small, but what was it about these horses or the colt in particular that you liked when you saw them?
Well, for me, when I first heard the news, it wasn't like much like a choice. Like, Mum just showed me the photos and I was like, okay, yeah, we can see what happens. And then it eventually led to us planning on going down to get them, or you guys.
Do you like the look of the horses?
Yeah, I do. I think the colt is very good looking.
Jazara, you were the one who started negotiating with the previous owners of these horses. You and Dana, you have also been involved in the purchase of or inquiring about purchasing. Well, we've got 5 horses, so at least 5, and a 6th horse. We've lost 1 horse in our time of having horses. So you've dealt with people who own horses in the transaction of purchasing horses. What was this experience like compared to the others?
Well, every horse that we've purchased up until these 2, the owners have been just fabulous, and they've wanted the best home that they could find for their horse. Like, that was their priority. And none of our horses were expensive horses. Peggy, our 14-month-old, the 14-month-old filly that we bought, was the most expensive horse, and she came at $1,000. And the rest were all under that. So they're not push-button horses or...
They're not flashy.
Flashy, yeah. Because the owners wanted a good home for them. That's all they wanted. Whereas these horses were completely different, and Jazara had more to do with the communication with the previous owners, so she can explain how that all went down.
Oh yeah, I messaged them and just inquired about whether they were still available and what, how they were feeling with the price and whether they were flexible with the price and whatnot. But they were very firm on the price, and that was okay. It was still a good deal. So I said, can we lock it in? Can we please come pick them up? And they said, if they're still here, which was very strange to us. So I said, it's a 5-hour trip, like...
Because we're in Harvey Bay.
Yeah, we're in Harvey Bay.
We have 5 horses on a 50-acre paddock, and it's not just a case of going down and buying a loaf of bread. Purchasing a new horse takes a little bit of consideration, managing the other horses, setting up the paddocks, travelling down there, getting ready, planning the trip back, and then planning the integration. It's not something that just happens overnight, is it?
No, it's not a process that you really want to rush.
But you felt rushed?
Felt very rushed. They essentially just said first in, first served. Whoever can arrive first and pick them up. It's pretty much a race.
We contacted them on a Tuesday, and
Yes.
we were heading to Brisbane anyway on a Friday to go to a concert. So we're heading down there anyway.
And you were negotiating on that Tuesday, yep?
Yep, and they were just being very hard to negotiate with in terms of coming to pick up the horses. They were refusing to hold them, and they expected us to drive 5 hours on a maybe. We even offered to put down a deposit. So it wasn't a maybe, it was a we're definitely coming to get them, here is some money to basically confirm that we are coming to get them. And they refused it, so we ended up saying, listen, we can't make a trip down there in the hopes that they're still there. It's a really long way, and it's not worth doing.
You were quite uncomfortable with it. We made a decision just to walk away from it.
Yeah,
didn't
we did.
So what changed?
On Thursday afternoon, the day before you guys were due to go down to Brisbane, I received a text message just saying, listen, no one's come to pick them up. I can hold them until Saturday or something. You can come and get them if you're still interested. So made a very last minute decision to go down and get them.
Dana, you and I went down. We travelled down for a concert. Your niece, my niece, Dana Jade, or Dana, or DJ. We went down to a concert down in Brisbane. You were meant to go, Jazara, but you got really sick.
I did.
So I was your proxy for both the concert
and to pick up the horses.
Which was actually a really cool concert.
I know, I was very upset.
So we went down and we stayed overnight. We stayed in Redcliffe. We had to get to Greenbank the following day. Dana, it was pretty wet.
Yep, it was raining when we left in the morning to pick them up from Redcliffe. We're just about to head off through this rain to the float to go and pick up two beautiful young horses that we're hoping to fatten up and get nice and healthy. We've become absolutely unprepared for this rain though, because in Harvey Bay we have our rain dome that protects us. Here we have nothing. So I've had to buy everything just to get out to the car. I'm really, really hoping and praying that when we get to them, it's going to have stopped, because I'm not sure how we're going to load two little young horses onto a float while it's wet, who haven't been handled. It will make for an interesting experience, I think. Thankfully, when we arrived there at the property, it had stopped. The previous owners wouldn't give us their exact address until we were on their street, which was weird. Like, I really don't understand that. And they also wouldn't give me their phone number. I had to do it all through Facebook Messenger. I don't know, just seemed very stale and unfriendly.
Well, part of the process when you're purchasing a horse in particular is there has to be a level of trust between people, and there just wasn't, was there?
No.
But what was also strange is they put the advert up with pictures.
And then they took it down.
They took the pictures down.
Mm.
So it was a little bit of a risk, but we got down there. What was the experience like after the rain, turning up at Greenbank to get these horses on a float that had never been handled?
So we're told that this pair of horses were unhandled, but she had said that they will sometimes their children feed them and they're okay.
Let them touch them, and
yep.
that they get on the float with food and whatnot.
That they should get on the float with food.
Well, that they'd done it before.
Yep. But when we got there, we couldn't get within 2 metres off these horses, and neither could the owners really. They shook buckets of feed and the horses would take a few steps towards them, and then they'd, dart away, and they wouldn't take any treats. I'd brought carrots. She said that they'd never eaten a carrot before. They'd offered it, but they wouldn't eat them. And so we were like, they were on the horses were on a 2.5 acre block.
And one of them was kept in a round yard.
And the filly was kept in the round yard because the colt had started to mount her, which was made of pallets. So we very quickly realised that we were going to have a challenge on our hands getting them onto the float when they trusted nobody. But yeah, we ended up making a small pallet yard around the entrance of the float ramp. The lady went up and she had food all at the front of it, and then we got 2 ropes on either side of the ramp and sort of closed them in around their bums so that they were eventually pushed onto the float.
So crisscrossed them, didn't we, at the back behind them?
Yeah. And I quickly ducked it and closed it. It ended up being about a 2.5 hour process. And the rain was coming over again.
Jazara and Jasper, both you were getting updates from us. What were you guys doing in Harvey Bay, thinking about potentially whether we're going to get these horses or not?
I think Jasper and I were both a little bit not quite sure how it was going to go. I don't think we had 100% faith that they were going to be coming home.
And you guys what were you doing back in Harvey Bay getting ready?
We've been presented with the opportunity to take on 2 young horses and train them ourselves. They are both very unhandled and they're quarter horse cross stock horses.
One's a filly and one's a colt.
Yes. We're both quite sick at the moment, so we can't go down ourselves to pick them up, but our parents have very kindly offered to go and pick them up and bring them here. So far we've just been trying to set up their little yards here, just temporary yards until we're able to confidently catch and whatnot. And once they can be caught and everything, we'll let them out into the big paddock with the others. We spent the morning out at the paddock just putting up yards and fences, and bear in mind during this I was deathly sick. I mean, I felt like I was dying. I had hot and cold flushes. I was shivering. My head was pounding, eyes were burning. It's raining out there, and we're out there fencing.
I think Dad should insert some sad music there. Just
Yeah, well, I'll insert sad music now, but play it back.
I felt like I was dying. I had hot and cold flushes. I was shivering. My head was pounding, eyes were burning. It's raining out there, and we're out there fencing.
How important is it for them to have a safe place away from the other horses initially?
Extremely. I mean, these horses hadn't been herd. They were young and they were skittish, and the only way that we were going to be able to work with them was if they were in their own yards.
we didn't even know if we were going to be able to work with them in their own yards close to each other. We thought we might have to separate them entirely, depending on how dependent they were on each other.
Our plan was to get there early in the morning, which we did. It took a lot longer because of the rain.
And the traffic was terrible.
The traffic was absolutely shocking. We planned to get there just after midday. What time did we get up?
7.
About 7.
Mm-mm.
We called you about 5 minutes away. What were you guys doing to get ready for the horses coming?
Well, we had just finished feeding all of our current horses, the 5 that we already had. And it was starting to get dark. It was starting to rain. We put them all away so that they wouldn't get in the way while we were unloading, and then we halted 2 of our horses. We halted Romeo and Luna. Luna is an ex-brood mare, so she just works very well with young horses, and the idea was that because she works so well with young horses, we could have her as a companion and just help put these guys at ease for a little bit. So we walked them both up to the top of the paddock where you guys were going to arrive with the float, hoping that it would all go well. The ponies are about 15 minutes away. We've decided that we are going to bring Luna and Romeo up with us to give them some company as we leave them down. Hopefully they will just follow Luna and Romeo. That's the plan because they're not halter broke. So it'll be interesting, but we're going to try and get it done. I've got a feeling it's going to be a bit stressful, so we might not be recording much of it, but we'll update you once we have them in their yards. How are you feeling?
Relieved that they actually made it here.
Yeah, that the travel has gone well.
We arrived. You guys had the horses. Jasper, what was your feeling when we first arrived?
I was a little bit nervous and kind of annoyed that we were walking uphill with 2 horses in the rain, and then when you guys arrived, it was a bit more annoying that the horses that had arrived were very skittish, scared, and wouldn't tolerate us.
What did you imagine would happen?
We would put a halter on and walk them to their pen.
Then it would all be calm,
But
with the unicorns and rainbows.
Because it was raining, one of the other options was to drive down to where the pens were and to move them straight into the pens, but that couldn't happen because of the rain.
Yeah, our paddock, the road down to the bottom of the paddock gets very slippery in the rain, so it wouldn't have been safe to get down there.
This whole thing is about trial and error, isn't it? It's not about making mistakes. It's about we trial things, some things work and some things don't. What you had in plan could have worked, but it didn't work as you went to plan. What happened?
We got a rope on the filly, and the plan was to kind of just let her off, hold her, and slowly make our way down the hill with the 2 older horses acting as sort of leaders and helping them out. However, they came off the float and it became very clear that that wasn't going to work, because she immediately, they were terrified of the other horses, they were terrified of us. She ended up pulling back and took off.
With the lead rope
With the lead rope around her. Luckily, it was tied loose enough around her that, it wouldn't really do any damage, but it was still stressful having it around her all the same.
And Jasper, you made some observations about when you first saw them on the float and Jazara touched them. Do you want to tell us about that?
We opened the float door and Jazara touched the colt on the bum and he just went into a bit of like a freak out, and as well as the filly, and that kind of was like a great, this is going to be awesome.
You were able to calm them enough to get the lead rope on, so you would have had some confidence that they were going to be, you're going to be able to control them.
Yeah, they're small horses, and they, from the understanding that I had of them in my conversations with the old owners, I was under the impression that they'd be okay with the rope around them, but they were not. So that was just an unfortunate little
Hiccup.
And then we spent a bit of time, I think it was...
Probably just over an hour.
Yeah, maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah, we left the paddock at about 10 to 9, so 8:50, trying to get the horses into a pen or try to get at least the rope off. It wasn't successful.
No, they wouldn't let us anywhere near them to lift the rope over her neck. It was not going to happen. Couldn't get within 3 meters of them. They were not happy.
So we went home and our goal was to turn up the next day. We had 2 plans. Dana, yours was, do you remember what your plan was?
Probably the best thing we could do is round them into the corner of the paddock, get them onto the float the same way that we did at the previous owner's place, close it up, take the lead rope off from a neck, and then let them out again, or take them to a pen that we've made and release them into the pen.
And my plan was, why don't we just go up and take the lead rope off? And I think the next day, Jazari and I got up in the morning, went out there, and I think I sent you a text message saying that we decided to go with my plan and the lead rope's off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we said.
That's what we said.
Yep, and I was amazed.
The only thing about that is that we may have, well, it's not deceptive and it's not a lie, because we were going to go with that plan and the lead rope was off, but the lead rope was...
It was already off when we got there. It had just slipped over her neck during the night. Most likely while she was eating.
Gotcha.
Ha ha.
Gotcha. Ha ha.
Get pranked.
Where's some fun music?
So Jazara's gone from, level 10 horsewoman to level 5.
But one of the other things we decided to do was we had some yards down the bottom of the paddock. We decided to go and to reconstruct 2 yards at the top and then work on bringing the horses up to the top.
Yeah, we did. So I think you and I all together, Dad, ended up spending about 12 hours at the paddock the next day, putting up yards and herding horses across 50 acres from one end to the other. Just the 2 of us in the hot sun with the midges, humidity.
It was crap.
Through long grass and bush,
Do you want the
thick.
sad music on now?
Thick.
Yes, please. Sad
bush.
music now. Thank you. How's that? It's good sad music?
No.
Yeah, I like the sad music. This is good sad music.
Good. That's good then.
Eventually we managed to get the 2 horses in.
We did.
Put the electric fence on, and what happened?
The electric fence went on and the colt got zapped, freaked out a little bit.
The colt.
Yeah.
Yes, and then
He respected it very quickly.
yes, he realised what was going on. He was scared of the fence. He didn't want to touch it again. And then the filly got zapped, and she took a different approach. Her fight or flight response was fight, and so she turned around and jumped the fence and broke the top rung. Well, I guess that's technically flight, but I'm just going to say that she fought the fence.
And then we had to go back and
Then we had
start
to
all over
go
again.
do the whole thing again. It took us about another hour, and we had to fix her yard, and it was really unpleasant. The sun was going down. There was a little bit of time pressure to get back. It was just a very stressful day. But then we finally got them in, and it was a big relief. And to be honest, we kind of just left as fast as we could once they were in. Because if they'd gotten out again, then we would have had to spend another hour getting them back in. So we kind of just left and held our breath that night again. Hi. Hi, babies.
So it's been 3 days and we've had these horses. I've noticed a difference in them even in those 3 days. Dana, have you noticed?
Yeah, I have. They're not, Jazara and Jasper have been able to approach them and get a lot closer. The little filly seems to be coming along a little bit quicker. Yeah, they're a lot better than when they first arrived, for sure.
Yeah, we're able to touch them now very tentatively on their heads while they're eating. And on the second morning when we arrived, the little filly was actually lying down, and that was quite nice to see that she was feeling comfortable enough to have a little snooze. And I swear I heard a little nicker when she saw me. I swear I did.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon I did. I reckon she saw me and she nickered. It felt quite nice.
We've tried with these guys licorice,
Molasses.
molasses.
Carrot.
The filly had the molasses. The colt wouldn't touch it. Although we did have to initially kind of shove it in her mouth. And then she was like, wait, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's even a difference. Like, you remember we had them on the float and we stopped at Gympie and we opened the float, and the colt particularly had just shut down. Wasn't chewing on anything. Was completely
just standing there
still.
with his head down.
So why do they do that?
It's just a survival mechanism, I guess.
Horses have a very strong fight, flight, stress response, and they're more often, a horse's natural immediate reaction to danger is flight. It's always going to be flight. And then if they cannot choose flight, they will choose fight. Lastly, they choose freeze. That is the last choice, is freeze and shut down, and they just try and get through it. And he was at that stage where he was just shut down, and he had no other option, and he'd gone into a helpless state of being frozen.
It's hard to watch that, except the fact you know that their future is going to be brighter, that
It is.
the opportunities that they get.
It's kind of like a necessary evil almost. You just got to get through that temporary difficulty, and then, you can't really avoid it in these kinds of situations. You just need to get through it and then on to brighter days.
I know dogs better than I know horses, and we were having a conversation with someone last week, I think, and they mentioned that horses and dogs are similar, and you said, well, they are similar, but they're very different. What did you mean by that?
So I guess the biggest difference between them is obviously a dog is a predator and a horse is prey. Dogs, when you work with dogs, they're very reward driven, like you give them a treat and they love it, or you can give them play and they love it. You give them a reward and that's how you train them. And, a lot of their trust will come from being provided with food or with friendship and play and love. Whereas with a horse, yes, a lot of their trust and love will come through providing them with things, but predominantly horses look for safety and leadership. They don't really look for food. They're not gonna... A horse isn't going to fall absolutely in love with you just because you feed it. And a horse will not approach you just because you have food. They have to have some level of trust in the fact that you're not going to hurt them, especially since you yourself, you are a predator and they are prey. And they know this. So naturally they're going to want to get away from you, and it takes a long time to build up that trust and get them to understand that just because you're a predator doesn't mean you're going to eat them.
Jasper, we have decided on names for these horses. While we were down in Brisbane getting the horses, you and Jazara had decided on 2 names. Can you tell me what they were?
So the 2 yearlings will be getting here tomorrow. That's when our parents will be picking them up and dropping them off. We haven't told our parents what we've named them yet, but we have settled on Whisky and Brandy.
Planning on making a sign.
Yes.
Making a surprise.
Yes. I'm sure our whiskey-loving father will be very glad to hear that we've chosen alcoholic names.
While you guys were away, we agreed on the name for the filly, Brandy, and for the colt, Whiskey. Now that they're here, we have changed the filly's name to Tennessee.
And kept the colt as Whiskey.
Yes, we wanted them to have somewhat matching names just to tie them together even more.
Tennessee is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You happy with the name Tennessee?
I am happy with the name Tennessee. I think it suits her.
Jasper, you happy with the name Whiskey?
Yes.
Now, honest feedback, it's been 3 days. We had a sort of a vision about what this would feel like. Jasper, how do you feel about your horse Whiskey now?
A bit. I'm questioning it a bit, but I'm willing to give him a go.
Why are you questioning it?
Because it is looking like above a year before I'm ever riding him. And he might not even be the right size for me in that time. So, yeah.
So why is that? Why do we have to wait like over a year to ride this horse? You see some horses that are ridden at 2 years old. Why do we have to wait till 3 to ride these horses?
The younger the horses are, the less fused their bones are to joints. And the earlier they're ridden, the shorter their riding life will be. So people generally break in and ride thoroughbreds at 2 years of age, but then their ridden life into the future is a lot shorter because they'll end up with say arthritis or just health problems that'll stop them from being ridden. Whereas if you wait longer till I think it's about 4 or 5, their bones are a lot more, they're stronger and their joints are fused. And if they're broken in later at, say, about 4 years of age, then their ridden life will be a lot longer.
But it does also depend on the breed, because you do have a lot of the bigger, like the draft horses. Often you got to wait until about 6 years old until their bones are fully fused together and whatnot. Thoroughbreds genetically are able to be broken in earlier, whereas the stock horses and quarter horses around 3 is pretty normal.
Are you still comfortable to keep trying with Whiskey?
Yeah.
How old is Whiskey?
16 months. That's what they said.
Yeah, they said they're around 16 months.
How are you feeling about it, Dana?
When we let them off the float, I had instant regrets about our decision to get them. They arrived on the Friday night, and then I had to work all of Saturday. I wasn't sort of able to help or be involved there, but I could feel the stress and the tension. I'm still feeling a bit, just a bit horsed out.
Are you seeing any glimmers of anticipation or excitement that could be in the future?
I think that these two have come along surprisingly well in 3 days.
Jazara, how do you feel?
Honestly, I'm feeling a little bit, stressed and doubtful in my capabilities, but that's something that I've always kind of struggled with. and it's always kind of worked out, so I think maybe I need to try and trust myself a little bit more. But I'm also really optimistic, and I'm looking forward to it because this is something that I've really wanted to do for a really long time. So to be able to get this opportunity, especially at this point in my life, is really special for me, and I'm really grateful for it, and I'm looking forward to working with her. And I guess just really looking forward to learning, because I'm going to be doing so much stuff that I honestly don't know everything about. I've only ever worked with horses that are very used to people. Even Peggy, I mean, we got her when she was 14 months old, but she was raised by people. She'd sleep in your lap. She's basically just a big dog. So it's very foreign going to a horse that won't let me near her. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm a bit stressed coming into the next fortnight because I've just made a appointment with the vet to have Whisky gelded, and in order for that to happen, he needs to be halter broken.
So that's the next thing we've got to focus on.
He has to be, or I'm going to have to cancel that.
Well, yesterday,
appointment.
Jazara managed to just get Tennessee just a touch of the halter. And
yes, I did just manage to sort of just slip it over her nose a little bit. I didn't try and put it on because I didn't want to rush her, and she took it quite well. I was quite happy with her, and you know, she's definitely still nervous. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I have real reservations about this, and they are the investment that we have to put into these horses financially, for the vet, for the food, for the farrier, for, you know, all the things that horses cost, and they do cost a lot of money, including the vet bill, which is obviously going to come up in the next 2 weeks as well. But also the investment in time. 2 times a day we'll have to be out with those horses initially. I'm pretty time poor with my work, and it's going to be hard for you as well, Dana, because you've already got a full day. So this is a big investment, and it's going to be quite draining. I'm not, and I try and say this with respect, I'm not as interested in seeing these horses grow as I am in seeing particularly you, Jasper, and you, Jazara, grow in teaching these horses. That to me is probably the most significant thing, is we have an opportunity as a family to participate in a project that potentially could change our lives, how we interact with each other, but also what we learn from this. So Jasper, you're going to learn so much. Jazara, you're going to have to learn more than you know now, and also learn how to give guidance to people as well. Even your brother, who sometimes you want to give guidance in a certain way or tell them where to go. That's what I'm looking forward to. Are you looking forward to the same, Dana?
Yeah, I think it's a really good growing opportunity. There's so much to learn with horses, constantly learning. And the thing is that each horse is different. So what works for one horse won't work for another horse. So you always have to try different avenues until you find the avenue that works, that reaches them.
What's the week ahead look like?
Got to get the halter on, both of them.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to get the halter on, and because, I mean, not only is Whisky getting desexed or gelded, but they'll both be getting their shots and getting their Hendra and their 2-in-1.
And microchipped.
Yes, so they're going to have to be okay with some needles, so we'll have to be pinching their necks a bit.
So this is our first episode of On the Reins. It's an exciting journey, and I'm excited to share it with you all.
This is Nova. She's a very cute little baby girl, and she would like to thank you all for joining us for our first episode of On the Reins. We're very excited to be here and doing this. I really, really enjoyed getting to know these horses over this first week, and I hope that you guys have too. The first thing I would like to say is we are not experts. So if you're looking for expert advice, please go to a professional. However, we're happy to share all that we know and all of the mistakes that we make along the way, so that you can learn from our own learnings, if that makes sense. The other thing that I would like to add is we're very open to feedback and advice. However, we are not looking for criticism, so if you are wanting to share criticisms, please go somewhere else. Please practice kindness. After all, it is free.